matrix expand our minds and make us all think. How are you guys all doing this grand morning? We're doing pretty good. We've been up early this morning, as always, because I wake up with the sun, or before the sun, I should say. And we've had ourselves just a great meditation. And this morning, we're not freezing our asses off. So there's that bonus. We got Mr. Lennon here is just waking up and saying, good morning to the day. Hey, buddy. And we got no complaints, to be honest. We're thankful that we are here today. And we've got some good messages for you guys. In my meditation, I was just thinking about this journey, the inward journey, and how often I get messages from all over the place seeking answers. And I have to tell you something. Your answers that you seek are not within me. They're within you. That's the fragmented part of your journey to get to us, to the one being. We hold these answers we've been looking for all this time. Not some magical guru out there in the mountainside, but you, the magical guru. You're the one that has the keys you've been looking for, the answers you've been seeking. Everything is right there. Always has been. So whether it's the morning, whether it's the afternoon, whether it's the evening, and you're watching this, none of it really matters. Want to know why? Because the truth is this. Time is a constraint that we created. It's nothing more than an illusion. So why are we here? What brought you here today? What brought you here to this moment, no matter what time it is that you're watching this? If you're hearing these words, if you're here in this moment, it's no accident. You were meant to be here. Exactly for right now. And we have so much within us. So many times we don't think we have the abilities to move forward. Grand Rising, how are you doing this morning, Ashley? So if you're here right now, it isn't an accident. You did not arrive here through chance, algorithm, or curiosity alone. Something in you is remembering. Long before language, before even belief, before identity. Consciousness recognized itself in form, and that recognition has been calling you ever since. We were taught to believe awakening is something dramatic, explosive, external, a lightning strike, a savior descending, a system collapsing overnight. But awakening rarely announces itself that way. More often it arrives as discomfort, as collapse, as disillusionment, as the quiet but relentless realization that the life you were told to want, the life we were taught to want does not satisfy the parts of you that knows the truth. So what I'm about to teach is not here to give you answers. It is here to dissolve the illusions that you ever lacked those answers. I remember in my journey just going off, looking for that person who had the keys to the answers to unlock me, and the entire time it was within. Yeah, nice try, dude. It's just so crazy. People are hilarious. Your minds are creative, but if you were to use them and use them correctly, then you would be able to do that and get away with it. But it's pretty obvious because those of us that do YouTube actually know how they work, and they kind of set out these pages that tells us actually how they get a hold of us. So, good creative thinking. Nice trolling. And thank you, because it helps increase the algorithm. So, appreciate you. Just want to let you know I appreciate you. So anyways, you're just another fragmented piece of myself. It's out there trying. But, man, please do me a better favor, okay? Because I know I'm more intelligent than that. Can you take a little bit of downtime and go look within and see the intelligence that is truly there? That would be awesome. Anyways, let's get back to what we were actually here for, with shaking up the matrix. And it's just NPCs trying to get you back in. But from our earliest moments, we are conditioned to our outsource, our knowing. You know, parents, schools, governments, religious doctors, systems, all positioned as intermediaries and between us and truth. And this was not inherently malicious either. It began as survival. You know, children must borrow authority before they can hold it themselves. But then there comes this place where we must realize we have it. We hold it. We've always had it. But at some point, you know, borrowing turned into surrender. We stopped being able to think for ourselves and even know where the answers were. Psychologically, this creates learned helplessness. Spiritually, it creates basically dependency. I mean, the church even builds the structure around that too, you know. Gotta go to your pastor. See, what does your pastor say? What? You know? It fractures sovereignty. It teaches you to go out external for help, external for your own answers. And see, the soul, which once navigated reality, that creative being of us, through intuition and presence, becomes subordinate and starts getting covered in the shit, and the diamond's no longer seen. And it now has to have credentials and symbols in order to even be seen and heard. Because, I mean, God knows you cannot have any educated opinion if you don't have some credentials and permission. This piece of paper says that I have permission to think on my own. And even for you. I mean, this is the first exile from Eden, when we stop trusting direct experience and begin trusting interpretation instead. I mean, I got a history of when I would give conversations, say, oh, hey, you know, so-and-so said this. And, you know, they're an author, and they're so-and-so, and they're da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I used to think it was the people who stood beside me which made my voice valuable. Fuck that shit. Now I know my voice is valuable no matter who the hell's standing beside me, even if it's just a cactus. And the crazy thing is what happens once you realize that you hold those external answers and there is no internal answers, and there isn't really the external thing to go find. It's about discovering what's always been held within. Something happens to a lot of us. We get quiet. Why? Self got hurt. See, when we stop trusting direct experience and begin trusting interpretation instead, we're doomed, which is where we're at today. Well, our government, I mean, we're going to trust, he's going to turn this thing around. No, you are. Why don't you turn it around? You don't like what's going on in your neighborhood? You're right here. Was fighting a little cold. I'm working night shifts tonight. Glad I can catch you live. Yeah, glad you're here too, man. Jeez. We got some crazy people here. They might need some help. They might need to go inside and have some journeying. There you go. All right. All right. We always got trolls, right? Anyways, let's talk about the body as the first temple. You know, before belief systems, the body was the interface. And science now confirms what ancient traditions already knew. The nervous system processes reality before the rational mind interprets it. Trauma is not remembered as a story. It is remembered as sensation. Let's take a moment and just breathe. Right? See, when the body learns the world is unsafe, the soul adapts to fragmenting, and it fragments the awareness. And this is not weakness, this is intelligence. See, the fall is encoded in the nervous system, and the return to Eden begins there as well. It's all there. Everything has always been there. Hello. See, we were taught to perform wellness long before we learned how to even be whole. But we've been wearing masks, is what's been happening. The strong one, the spiritual one, the enlightened one, you know, the healer, the helper. And behind these masks live the parts of us that never received permission to even exist. Grief, rage, terror, shame, longing, collapse. Psychology names this repression. Spirituality mislabels it lack of faith. Society rewards it as success. But what is buried does not disappear. It waits. It gathers pressure, and eventually it demands to be seen. This is when people say they are losing it. They are not losing it. They are remembering it. I'm in a shuttle bus. And when we cut ourselves off from inner connection, we unconsciously seek energy. We seek it externally. You know, validation, attention, approval, drama, control, intimacy, without presence. I mean, and this is not evil. It's actually starvation. It's what we're doing just to be seen and heard. Trust me, I know. I was down that road. You see, a being disconnected from its source will feed whoever it can. It will feed wherever it can. You know? But no external source can replace an internal grounding. You see, the result is perpetual exhaustion, emotional, volatility, and spiritual bypassing, and relational collapse. See, the solution is not better boundaries alone. The solution is return. Every awakening follows the same pattern. Withdrawal, disorientation, descent. This is the cave. Plato spoke of shadow on the wall. Jung spoke of the unconscious indigenous. Traditions spoke of vision, quests. Christ fasted in the wilderness. You are not unique. You hate talking to yourself. Have a good, blessed day, you too. I answered you. I said I'm living in a shuttle bus, but okay. Anyways, in this process, but you are required to walk it yourself, basically. You know, you will confront the false self here. Everything you thought you were, everything you worked so hard to maintain, everything that once kept you safe. And it will feel like death. Because something is dying. You see, the shadow is not the enemy. Let's just be clear. The shadow is not your darkness. The shadow is your unlived truth. So anger that was never allowed, sensitivity mislabeled as weakness, power punished into submission, truth silenced for belonging. See, the shadow becomes destructive only when it is ignored. And integration, it becomes authority. And this is why the shadow hunts you when you avoid it and guides you when you face it. It was never perfection. It was coherence. No internal division, no war between instinct and awareness. No heresy of worth. See, the serpent was conscious awakening to itself. The knowledge was self-awareness, and the shame came later. The return is not innocence regained, it is innocence integrated with wisdom. Then there is no them. Those them we've created. This does not mean there are no boundaries. It means the boundaries is functional, not absolute. Psychology calls the differentiation. Philosophy calls it non-duality. Spirituality calls it oneness. See, what you judge externally reveals what is disowned internally. And what you fear in others reveals what you fear becoming. And what you admire reveals dormant potential. The world is not attacking you. It's reflecting you. You are older than life, this life you have before you. Whether understood through reincarnation, ancestral memory, collective unconsciousness, or quantum continuity. The implication remains. Experience does not begin at birth, nor end at death. And this is why some truths feel familiar before they are understood. You've been here before, and you return for a reason. The rational mind is a brilliant servant and a terrible master. Truth lives beneath thought. Silence is not emptiness, it is bandwidth. And this is where intuition speaks. This is where guidance emerges. This is where authority returns. Ego death is not metaphorical. It is the collapse of false identity. And those who resist to suffer endlessly are those who surrender pass through. Nothing real is lost. Nature holds no shame, no heresy, no urgency beyond rhythm. Nature is eaten and enacted continuously. Reconnection is nature, is not spiritual authentic. It is the neurological regulation and spiritual alignment. I'm glad it makes sense. See, Christ is the pattern of integration consciousness, not to be worshipped, to be embodied. The kingdom is within, and always was. See, the matrix is not a place, it is a perception. And when fear governs interpretation, reality collapses. And when love governs awareness, coherence returns. You do not fight the matrix, you outgrow it. See, you were never broken. You were fragmented for survival. Now survival is no longer enough. Integration calls. And the way out is inward. The authority is yours. The remembering has begun. So return to Eden because you never left. See, there is a stage on this path that no one prepares for you. A stage where the old reality no longer works. But the new one has not fully stabilized. Psychology has a name for this. It's called the ego and ego destabilization. Spiritual traditions call it the dark night of the soul, and indigenous cultures recognize it as initiation sickness. This is the place where people think they are losing their minds. And what is actually happening is perception is recalibrating. The filters you once used to navigate the world are dissolving, meaning collapse, identity loosens, time stretches, compresses, and old relationships no longer fit, and old ambitions feel hollow. You may grieve lives you never lived and selves you can no longer even return to. This is not pathological, it is transition. Modern society lacks containers for this phase, and so it often medicated, dismissed, or spiritualized away. But in truth, this liminal space is where the deepest restruction comes in. Reconstruction. So I missed that. Cat is twisting up my tongues, but the reconstruction comes in, and it occurs. You are not broken here. You are between worlds. Awakening that bypasses the body does not last. The nervous system must be included or the psyche will snap back into survival. Trauma lives in muscles, tone, breath, our mind, everything, patterns, cell memories, we call this. Gut responses, startle reflexes, no amount of positivity, positive thinking overrides a body convinced it is unsafe. And this is why stillness is terrifying for some people. Silence removes distractions. The body remembers. The return to Eden requires gentleness, regulation, patience. Grounding is spiritual work. Rest is spiritual work. A regulated nervous system becomes a stable gateway for expanded consciousness. There's no way your aura is fading. Power suppression and the fear of sovereignty. See, we were punished for truth early in life. Speaking honestly meant withdrawal of love. Being powered meant becoming a threat. Being sensitive means being overwhelmed. So power was suppressed. Truth was negotiated. Presence was abandoned. Later awakening asks us to reclaim what once was dangerous to have. This is why sovereignty feels risky. Authority within means no longer hiding behind belief systems, leaders, or identities. It means standing exposed in direct relationship with reality. And that terrifies the conditioned self. See, one of the most subtle traps on this path is the rejection of darkness. Light only, but spirituality avoid grief, rage, boundaries, and truth in favor of descendants narrative. But light that cannot tolerate darkness is fragile. Wholeness requires dissent. See, love without truth becomes enabling. Peace without boundaries becomes disassociation. Integration demands honesty. And every major spiritual tradition places awakening after collapse. See, the tower falls, the old self dissolves, and certainly burns. And collapse removes what ego built on borrowed authority. What survives, collapse is real. This is why collapse is sacred. Why healing happens in spirals? Because we may revisit the same wounds. And this does not mean you are failing. It means you are meeting them for a new level of awareness. Healing is a spiral shaped, not a linear. And each return carries more capacity. Every relationship is an initiation. Those who trigger you are revealing unintegrated parts. Those who abandon, you are exposing attachment wounds. Those who say challenge you to be seen, no encounter is random. This does not mean tolerating harm. It means listening to what reaction reveals. And solitude is not isolation, it is incubation. Nature retreats before transformation seeds break underground. And the ego panics in solitude. The soul breathes. Awakening is not conquest, it is receptivity. The feminine principle in presence is intuition, embodiment, relational awareness, and has been suppressed culturally and internally. Restoring balance restores Eden. See, the masculine principle is clarity, boundary, direction, courage is equally essential. And without it, awakening dissolves into passivity. Integration consciousness requires both. Civilization collapsed exactly the way people do. Overextension, denial, fear-based control, fragmentation. Awakening scales the same way. The collective is being initiated. And once you see pretending costs too much, old lives become unbearable, old truths collapse. This grief is real. Let it pass. Awakening is not exemption. It is obligation. Clarity carries consequences. And you become responsible for your perception, choices, and impact. Eden is coherence, lived moment to moment. It is choosing truth over convenience, presence over performance, connection over dominance. See, true teachers point inward, not to some external deity that doesn't exist. They do not create dependency. They dismantle themselves. See, the transmission never ends. This is not just some teaching to bring a conclusion. It's an integration. Each breath is an initiation. Each choice is a return. You're not becoming something new. You are remembering what survived everything. Return again and again and again. Yo, text done. What's up? You like the scripture, John 8:12? And the one thing that Yeshua did was go on an internal journey. So if we followed that internal journey, we would end up in here. That's the beautiful thing about that. We wouldn't be so externally focused. Even Jesus said, I tell you the truth, John 10:34. It's not written in your laws, but you're all God's. Part of the Elohim. Can't be separated from that now, can we? Peace and love. Make sure you do one thing towards your dreams every single day. It brings you one step closer. Make sure you recognize you're valuable and you matter. You're all unique puzzle pieces, a part of the ultimate puzzle of the cosmos. Hang in there. Peace and love. See you guys next time.